Here we are back at Reptastic Adventures, standing in the Redfoot Tortoise Enclosure, also known as Chelonornis carbonarius, one of my favorite species. Now, most people think, really? Redfoot tortoises? They're so common. Yeah, they are. They're common in the pet industry, and a lot of people have them, but hey, they're pretty, they're nice, I like them, they're pretty, personable. They don't really get that big, and we have variations. Some of them are larger and smaller, and some of them have more color. But we can totally tell why this tortoise is called the Redfoot tortoise. Self-explanatory, and you can see this guy right here is a female. It's got a nice flat plastron and a short tail on the bottom. Look, she's shooting out some strawberry juices out her nose, but she was just having some strawberries. Here's another one. This one, I would bet money would take this strawberry. Strawberry is more of a treat for them. I don't really feed them fruit that often. Maybe once a week I'll give them. It actually does have a lot of moisture, especially like bananas or cactus pear. They can tolerate it. Some tortoises can't tolerate the sugars and the fruits, like some of the testudos, the Hermann's tortoises, the Greek tortoises. I would definitely maybe stay away from it if you can. Once in a while you can go with a cactus pear. But this one's just going to town. This is another female. And I showed you the female with the flat plastron. Strawberry and bananas, again, are one of their favorites. I'm going to show you a male in just a second. But look at it. So we have two females here. You can see there's really no two tortoises that are exactly alike. Every single one has a different pattern. You have different blotches here. Okay, so we have different size scutes, different size shell. Everything is different about every species, every specimen rather. But here, there's where was that? I had a male. I think it went back under here. So this log right here. Yeah. Oh, that's another female. This log right here is very important to have in their enclosure because it provides security, it provides shelter from excessive heat waves, and you have heavy rains. So yes, tortoises and turtles love rain, but it's also got to be limited. It can't be too much because they also have to dry out. Otherwise, they start getting fungus issues. There we go. If I can find it, I'll find a male in a sec. I know there's a male wandering around. So again, Redfoot tortoises are common, and they are bred heavily in captivity, which I'm totally fine with. The more we have, the better, right? Because there are some that are being, destroyed and plowed over in their natural habitat. Habitat protection is one of the most important things in keeping a species from going extinct, as well as captive breeding. We need to be able to hatch more of these. I know in the United States there are plenty available, but you can never really have enough. We can always go back and release some back into the wild later down the road if we have to. Isn't she just adorable? Look at that. You gotta be careful though. They don't mean to bite you, but sometimes they might accidentally get your finger in there. And they're always, she thinks, she's always curious. When she bites down, look. Ah, oh. Yeah, that didn't feel good. Okay, so I just wanted to show you. I mean, it doesn't feel good. It's not gonna really hurt. It's not like a snapping turtle, an alligator snapping turtle. Maybe you might even be able to take off a pinky finger, depending on how big your hand is. They're definitely got some powerful jaws, and they're also, once they lock in, they're not letting go. There's a lot of tricks that you can find to help you there, but they are a nasty species. At times we got all females here. I gotta walk around. I gotta find, there was a bottle, a Coke bottle, shelled male. You can see how big this enclosure is, guys. I really advise you to put your tortoises outside as long as you can. It's not easy when you're living in northeastern United States like me. I'm in New Jersey, and we get colder winters, and even fall and spring can be cold at times. But one thing that people don't know is that these tortoises, the Redfoots especially, not the Yellowfoots. The Yellowfoots need it to be warmer. The low has to be like high 50s, 57, 58. I try not to let the yellowfoots be out under 50. That's like my bottom number. If it drops below 50, then they got to be in a greenhouse or something, or blocked in or put inside. But 50 and above, I'll still make sure that they're kind of burrowed and they're not sitting out in the corner. So you want to make sure these tortoises just aren't sitting out exposed to the cooler air. You know, it's kind of like they get a cold or respiratory issue. Check this out. Look at this. Boom. Look at how many there are right under here. So that you can see they're seeking cover. It is a sunny day, but they're seeking cover underneath this log. Okay, so these logs are important for protecting them from the sun, extreme temperatures, but also too much rain. Yes, again, tortoises love rain, but too much is not good. Here's the male I wanted to show you. Look at that. Concave plastron, thicker tail. Remember, the female was smooth and flat and had a shorter tail, but this one has a little bit better coloration in his feet. Some of these have some markings on them just because years ago they had tape on them. I think this may have been an import, but it was a rescue. Someone had given this to me a while ago. Very healthy. But back to what I was saying, these tortoises can tolerate cold temperatures. Redfoots, not yellowfoots. Redfoots can be out here in temperatures that drop all the way down to 35 degrees. People are like, wow, that's crazy. People that have redfoot tortoises up here in the Northeast almost every time would bring their tortoise in if the temperatures got to 35. If it got down to below 50, I'm sure they'd want to bring them in. But the one trick is you have to give them areas to hide under, like these logs. I have a couple big logs in here, and then I have this area I built. It's got plywood over the top. You can see there's hay. Now, that's just a little bit, okay? And as it gets colder, the nighttime temps right now for these guys are 55 to 65, I would say. But in a couple of weeks, it's going to start to slowly drop down and get to between 45 and 55 at night. And when that happens, we got to stuff that with more hay, so it's real thick. And once it gets to, you know, later in the day, they'll start to wander in there and hide and just get warm in the hay. And then they'll come out again the next day. So I've had these tortoises out here several times where temperatures were 35 degrees at night, the low, and it warmed up later the next day, maybe 55, 60. 35 is pretty much my cap, just to be on the safe side, because sometimes they'll tell you, hey, the low's 35, but it ends up going down to 32 or 31. So you got to have a little bit of a buffer there. But I bet you a lot of you didn't know that redfoot tortoises can take it that cold. What's up? You got something to say? No? They're pretty personable animals. They're pretty docile, and the one thing I like about them too is they don't get that big on average. And I'm saying on average because there's certain locales in the wild which they have enormous shells. I have seen redfoot tortoises that, and pictures, I've actually seen one, and they're 2 feet long, enormous. Yellowfoots too. I've seen Amazon basin yellowfoots. Some of them are like 2 feet, just absolutely enormous. I had a female going back years ago, but it ended up dying. Unfortunately, it was probably around 24 inches, and it was the biggest yellowfoot that I've actually had in my possession. I do have a lot of yellowfoots over on the other side, but I just wanted to show you how amazing these animals are. Their enclosure, it's big. They're outside for probably 6.5 to 7 months of the year. Obviously, once we get to November through March, they're going inside. We just don't want to risk it with these guys. There is a possibility that they could burrow and they could survive, but I'm not gonna mess around and take my chances. Here we go. We got a nice little female that came out to grab some lettuce. And that's all I have for you today on the redfoot tortoises. Again, a common species, still a little underrated. I think people just go that way because of how common they are. But they are cool. I have a lot of tortoises that are cool. I think all tortoises are cool. There's a lot on the property, and you're gonna get more videos on those as we go. I appreciate you guys tuning in, watching the video, and If you can like and subscribe, that'd be fantastic. Got any questions or any more videos you want to see, leave them in the comments, and I will see you guys next time.